All right, welcome to another episode of the College Baseball Show, your Just Baseball Media home for everything college baseball. I'm Jared. That's Will. We got Jason from 64 Analytics. How you guys doing? Will, how's it going, man?
Great. I haven't seen you on this in quite some time, Jared.
I
It's
know.
been a while. We were just talking about how neither of us have actually hosted the podcast probably since December. But I'm excited. It's been a really fast season. Like I can't believe we're already at the postseason.
It's
And it's
crazy.
time. Like as if this regular season wasn't one of the most chaotic to memory at this point. I think it's just gonna even take a step further for the postseason. So I'm really excited to break it all down. I think everyone's really excited to actually dive into conference championship weekend. And then of course we're just another week or so out from selection Monday.
Yeah. If you were wondering why I haven't been on, I have newborn twins and I'm running on about 3 hours of sleep a night. So that is one of the main reasons. Jason, how we doing?
All I heard were excuses there.
Yeah.
So you need to nut up and come back on the show. I'm just gonna throw that out there. So no, doing good. It was a great Sunday. Had fun with the family. Talked a lot of portal stuff with coaches and whatnot. Signed up a few schools. It's a good day. Now we're gonna talk ball.
Yeah. I love it. We're going to go through the last final week, some of the recap of that, and then we're going to go into some conference championship preview. Before we get into some of the team stories, one of the first stories I wanted to touch on is Daniel Jackson joining the 25-25 club, 25 homers, 25 stolen bases. He becomes the sixth player and first catcher in NCAA Division I history to record 25 home runs and 25 stolen bases in a single season. I think crazy to see this as a catcher, but yeah, what are your thoughts here, Jason?
I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago, Will. I was like, what are his chances for, a 30-30 season? I mean, he's a guy with like 6'3", 6'4", 60 speed. So like a legit athlete, crazy power, and he plays a position of need. Maybe it's because I don't like pay as much attention to the draft as I should, but part of me is like, where is this guy? Do y'all have a good feel for where he is? Because I just don't really know. He also has an absolute cannon for an arm. So I don't maybe I don't know like ball as well as I should. Yeah, as Spencer said, those spikes are golden. I mean, I have to feel like he's gonna be in Omaha for like that final three. I mean, I have to feel like it's gonna be him, Harrison, maybe Richie. I don't know. I feel like those would be my three if I were to do it right now, but I don't see how he's not at least one or two. I mean, I forgot Tag from Louisville.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel like in a season where it feels like, well, I mean, we talked about this previously that the Golden Spikes is kind of sometimes the best player on the best team. Not only does he kind of fit that, he also kind of fits like one of the best players in college baseball. So I'd say he's definitely trending in that direction.
Yeah, and you do it in the SEC, right? Like getting the best environment possible. He's at 7th on your player rankings, I think, right now on the hitting side.
Something like that. Are you talking about like our team or like our six? Yes, correct. And I mean there's some uniqueness to that because we don't value midweeks as highly. Will, cover your ears. So I mean, there's some things that we try to focus a little bit more on, but I mean, once you're up to like the top 10, it's just margin of error, really, because it's just a formula. It's not like, hey, this person is definitely better than that person. It's more just trying to put you like within a percentile range.
Yeah. Will, you got any thoughts on Jackson?
I do. I really do. I agree with everything Jason said. I think he's for sure in that top three. Unfortunately, and I've mentioned this before and I've mentioned it over and over again, that Golden Spikes has trended towards draftier players. So it's kind of a knock on Hairston there. To me, it's almost like when we talked about the MLB MVP race last year, like the Raleigh versus Judge kind of thing, because Raleigh was the catcher, Daniel Jackson's the catcher, putting up crazy numbers. Lana Hairston still has him beat in OPS by 100 plus points. Like Daniel Jackson's in the one just over 1.3. Hairston's at 1.438. Hairston's got 40 walks to 24 strikeouts. Jackson's got 59 strikeouts to 43 walks. Again, part of it is how much do you value him being in the SEC? Like, how much more would Hairston strike out if he was in the SEC? We were just putting together our conference, our all conference team awards today, and I mean, you look up and down the list of the Big 12 pitching, like it's not the SEC pitching. It's clear, right? The Big 12 is a much more offensive heavy league. There's a lot of factors that play into it. But when you compare Hairston to other Golden Spikes winners of late, i.e. Charlie Condon, like he's outside of home runs, he's right in line with what he did with way less strikeouts. I just think that alone in Hairston's profile gives him such a leg up. Now, again, he's not a draft guy. So I actually think I think based on the way it's trended since, post-COVID, I'll just say, I think Hairston actually has a disadvantage winning it this year. I think he should win it. I don't think he will, just based on that fact alone. Like, I think it's Jackson because of that, because he's a draft year guy. He does have the premier position leg up that Hairston also has playing center field. So, it's kind of a wash there. But I think the SEC thing, the fact that I think Georgia's set up to make a deep Omaha run, I can't say the same for ASU, especially Carlin coming out late last weekend. Like, who knows what his status is going to be when it comes time for regionals. So I think it's Jackson, but I think you have to look at what Hairston accomplished this season and say if he was a draft eligible player, it's probably him. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Jackson is just like what he's done from the catching position has just been insane.
Unreal.
People are going to use the excuse that Foley is just like it's a launching pad. So, right. So he's got 25 home runs, but he did it. But still, like you're doing that in the SEC against some of the top competition. I don't think he should get knocked for that.
Yeah, agreed.
Moving on to sticking with Georgia here. So Georgia beats Auburn, becomes the outright SEC champions. They set a school record with 22 SEC wins. They enter Hoover as the number 1 seed going into that tournament. Just an absolute juggernaut. We kind of talked about them at the beginning of the year, like where are all these pieces going to play? They've got basically a B team. We talked about them having injuries and like that not hurting them as much because they have the depth. It just seems like Georgia is really, really putting themselves at the top here. I think there's arguments that they could be the number 1 team in the nation at this point, but Will, love your thoughts here on the Bulldogs.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. I mean, I talked about it a lot in the preseason with the whole Wes Johnson narrative that, he's supposed to be this amazing pitching coach, but what's been the bottleneck for Georgia the last, 6 to 8 years or the last 4 years, it's been the pitching, right? But I think it's always been for lack of talent, not lack of development. And I always use Brian Curley as the example. Brian Curley came in as a low 90s mid-major guy. He turned him into a Friday night starter. I just think you have to look at what he's done with lesser talent. And then this year you were able to give him all the talent. And now Georgia is what it feels like they should have been the last couple of years, what everybody's been waiting on. So this team is unbelievable, really good coaching, really good player development. They have the talent, they have the depth. I mean, you still have a guy like Jordy Oriak coming off the bench and hitting just ridiculous home runs. And sure, a lot of people like to complain that Foley's a launch pad. Let's be honest, a lot of the SEC is a launch pad. The SEC is very home run friendly. It really is across the board. It doesn't matter what stadium it is. All of the SEC is home run friendly. So let's just start with that. I mean, there's a really, really good team, right? I'm selfishly hoping they get to Omaha because I would love to see them play Georgia Tech in Omaha. I think that would be one of the best matchups that we've seen in recent memory in Omaha. So I'm really hoping for that. As actually, we'll dive into the tournament later. But this team is unreal. Like I think across the board, you look at guys like Caden Aoki, what they've been able to do in a weird role. I think a role that myself included didn't expect from him coming into the season. But they've just plugged in guys where they need, and they've been unreal.
Yeah. And Jason, kind of on the flip side here with Auburn, right? Georgia didn't really flat out dominate them. They won 2-1, 9-7, but then they got 10 run ruled in the Sunday game. Kind of what are your thoughts here on Auburn losing this series to Georgia? They still, I think, look strong in some sense, right? They put an 8 spot up on Aoki in 4 1/3 innings on that Sunday. I think you're muted.
Thank you. I muted myself. Yeah, apologies. What's wild to me is Auburn, and I think ended up 6th in the SEC, and they may be 6th national host. Quite honestly. So kind of a weird year from the SEC because you've got Texas A&M, who everyone is like, oh, are they going to be hosts? Blah, blah, blah. Where's A&M? They're 3rd. I mean, and then you've got Alabama, who it doesn't really ever feel like we've ever fully understood what team they're 4th. They're 5th in the RPI. I mean, everything is screaming like this is a host. So I mean, it's a kind of a weird season, but I think if you look at that series, it kind of just shows you why Auburn is so good. I mean, they held an incredible hitting team in Georgia to just not really like a lot that weekend, especially that first game. I mean, you're talking about a 2-1 game. And so like they always talk about like pitching, you know, kind of like carries you at the end. I don't know if it's like pitching is more of it's like either elite pitching up front or like elite depth. Like I think you just have to get one of the two. Like if you have like maybe a decent starter at the beginning, but you just have incredible depth that can really help you. But I mean, I think they have. I don't think it's a thing. They have the best like starting 4 pitchers in the country. So they'll be able to match up with pretty much anyone that comes into the Plains. So I'm excited for them. I think you know it's interesting. Georgia got the 1 seed. They kind of got screwed a little bit because Mississippi State's the 8 seed, which again is wild. So that's gonna be. I mean, Ole Miss is the 9, so that Ole Miss Mississippi State's probably gonna happen. I mean, no knock on Missouri, but that's probably gonna happen. And so then it's like, okay, like Mississippi State's probably gonna want to win that game. Ole Miss that's gonna be a really good game. And then the winner of that's gonna get Georgia, who I don't know, they probably want to because again their RPI is not phenomenal. Just a super weird year for RPI and everything. And I don't know. The SEC tournament, it always feels kind of like a midweek because you've got all of these teams that are kind of throwing pitchers 3 to 4 innings. Like it's just kind of a weird feel. And then some teams kind of take off or don't. I don't know. It's a fun atmosphere. Jared, you were there last year, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Sunbelt was a lot more fun because felt like they were actually playing for something, where the SEC was kind of like everybody's there. Like the teams that were 1 seed going in there, like, okay, if we go 1 and out, whatever, we're still going to the field of 64. Like we're hosting probably a regional. So yeah, it's a definitely a fun atmosphere because the fans are super into it. And like I think most coaches will tell you in the SEC that they're going to try to win. They want to win the SEC tournament, but they're also trying to get their guys prepared for the actual playoffs in the NCAA tournament. Moving on to Atlanta in the ACC. So Georgia Tech goes back-to-back ACC championships in the regular season. First-year head coach James Ramsey becomes the first ACC coach to win a regular season title in his first season since Jack Leggett at Clemson. Tech improves to 44-9 overall, 24-5 in ACC conference play, second in RPI. We're going to get yelled at again for having Georgia above them in our top 25 rankings that's dropping tomorrow. But Jason, what have you seen kind of from this Georgia Tech team? I know I saw Monty tweet out that they were the best pitching staff in the ACC with like a 4.26 ERA. So everybody was complaining about Tech not having pitching. They're apparently a good pitching staff. I just want to, what's your overall thoughts on Tech going into the ACC championship?
I don't know if Tech is the best. I mean, it feels like Florida State would have a pretty strong argument with that.
They didn't post a better ERA.
I mean, ERA is the dumbest stat imaginable. But no offense, Monty. But yeah, I mean, good example, and I hate to always push back to Arkansas, but it is what it is. There was a ball that was hit to right field, and Zach Stewart went to grab it. He just straight up missed it. They called it a triple. So like that's an error for 99.9% of box scorekeepers, but because it was at Kentucky, they got the 0.1 to give the guy a triple. But to your point of like, hey, what is Georgia Tech? I mean, again, you're talking about a team it's not that they didn't have a lot to play for. Obviously, they had a ton to play for, but they're 8-2 in their last 10, and they're averaging like 12 a game. So their offense is going bananas right now. I mean, it's pretty incredible what they're able to do. I mean, their pitching, you look at it, I mean, they do have 4 walks per 9, which is about 67th percentile. Their whip is about 1.4, which is like 87th percentile. Their FIP is 4.5, which is about 72nd percentile. So there are definitely some things that, yeah, like if you look at ERA, like you're screaming for it. But the other things are like, okay, we could definitely be better in that. So there's definitely some, like, if you were to say what's kind of the knock in the armor, it would definitely be the pitching, because it can't be the hitting. of course. But again, you look at Boston College. Boston College had a shit ton to play for at Boston College. And what was it like? Was it plus 30 or something? What was I don't know what the run differential was in that.
It was insane.
It may have been more than that.
A big number. I don't. Did they all even? I'm trying to think if they all even went the full 9. I think they run ruled them in the Saturday and Sunday, correct? Or the Friday and Saturday. I think the Thursday was 9-0. But then did they run rule them? I'm pretty sure they run ruled.
Pretty sure they did.
So, I mean, we had this discussion last Monday, Will, where we were talking about like, hey, how do you let a Boston College team that's got like 19 ACC wins not hosting? So they had an incredible amount, and they got steamrolled. So I think there's a really strong argument right now for Georgia Tech to not only be the 2 but the 1 seed, because they're 19-5 in Q1 games. That's insane. 19-5. The only thing that's going to hurt them is their non-con. Their non-con was kind of dog water. So I mean, you're pumped if you're a Tech fan. Really, there's no real difference between the 2 and the 1. There just really isn't. At that point, it's just who's your 15, who's your 16. That's really all you care about, because you should be able to pitch off versus the 4, and then your 2 and 3 will be pretty synonymous, unless like you're the 32 or the 31, whatever they want to call it this go around. If one is a team that maybe you match up a little bit better with, but with an offense like that, you're going to match up against pretty much any team.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tech is really good. Like we have Georgia above them for a reason, but to me, it's like Georgia Tech is still very good. I think there's legit arguments for why they should be the number 2 team in the nation. And Will, I know when we've gone through this top 25, we've gone back and forth on this quite a bit. Maybe we have some SEC bias because we have a couple of SEC writers that are voting. But I mean, yeah, I think you can go back and forth on both of these teams.
Yeah, 100% agree. This team is I think Jason actually nailed it. Like, I would not be surprised if they're the number 1 overall seed above UCLA. Like, it would not surprise me at all, especially when you look at Georgia from an RPI perspective. Like, I don't think they're going to be the number 1. Although I think you can argue they're the best team in the country. I don't think they're the number 1 seed. I do. Honestly, I think when you look at all of the metrics, when you break everything down, I'd honestly go out on a limb and say Georgia Tech's probably going to be the number 1 national seed, unless something crazy happens in the conference tournaments to where that throws something off. But even that, I don't think will have enough impact to do that. So I would say Georgia Tech is likely the number 1 national seed after this weekend.
You think it's likely?
I think it's very likely.
Ooh, I like that hot take. I mean, maybe it's not too much of a hot take.
You think? I don't think it is. Not
maybe
like
it's a lukewarm take.
19-5 in Q1. I mean,
yeah.
Again,
I mean, what's UCLA? I gotta look
Georgia.
this up.
Right,
UCLA has done incredible things, and UCLA is
9-1. Yeah, that's a big difference.
I mean, only not even having 10 Q1 games. That's wild.
Like,
well, they had 10. They were 9-1. They got 10 exactly.
Oh yeah,
right?
sorry. Yeah, 10 exactly. But
in the Big Ten, it's tougher to get to that number, though. So I do get that part, and they challenged themselves certainly in the preseason, and they passed every single challenge. They did everything you asked them to. But I think when you look at the metrics side by side, it'd be really, really hard to not make Georgia Tech the number 1 national seed. I don't think it's that crazy of a take to say. I really don't. I think people, after the last couple of weekends of UCLA baseball, less the Oregon series, been jumping on the this team is complacent train, waiting for regionals, which there's probably some truth to that. I mean, it's probably easy to get some sleepy spots, and this weekend especially, it's like you kind of know you've sealed your fate heading into the conference championship weekend. You drop 1 to Washington. You could have dropped 2, but they didn't. Ended up being actually a more significant win than I think people are giving it credit for, that Saturday win. But I do think it's Georgia Tech as the national seed here.
Yeah, I definitely, especially if they make a run through that ACC tournament.
Yeah.
You look at USCLA, if they hit any struggles and don't win the Big Ten tournament, I think they're definitely the easy favorite. But if they don't win it, and Georgia Tech does, I think you're going to see Georgia Tech coming out as number 1 going in.
Do you think them getting snubbed last year has any sort of bearing? I've always wondered if there's any sort of mental
in terms of
process
they might knock them because but in terms of they might knock them because they didn't host last year, they might give it to them.
Give it to them.
I don't
I've always wondered if there's any sort of retrospective review They're like, hey, they kind of got
There
the
could
short
be.
end of the stick last year. I mean, I know
If,
TCU's like, God, no, there isn't.
if,
But
if they
I
gi-
was
if they
just
give
wondering.
honestly, it might be more telling if the Big 12 gets 2 hosts compared to if Georgia Tech gets the 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of TCU, let's move on to the Big 12. Kansas winning the Big 12 first conference championship for them since 1949. Fitzgerald took over this program in 2023, led the team from a last place finish in the Big 12 to now in 4 seasons a first place finish. They finished 39-16 overall, 22-8 mark in the Big 12. How are we feeling about the Jayhawks here, Will?
I love this, and I'm gonna slightly spoil our all conference team for the Big 12 because I put a lot of thought into it. It's unbelievable what Dan Fitzgerald did. Go look. I want everybody before they start complaining because there's going to be some comments that are, how did the conference champion not have any players on the list? Go look at the Big 12 stats, player to player, team to team. It's unbelievable that they won as many games as they did with the stats. And I was talking to Noah Darling, who's a big Kansas guy, and I was like, dude, this. And again, this is a program that I've commended a lot of times for people in programs. Fitz is doing an incredible job over there. Him and Saban's, what they've been able to do from the way that they recruit into player development, translating that into wins, being at the top of the Big 12, and year in and year out. I mean, the Big 12 has now had this shift where the Big 12 kind of runs through Morgantown and it runs through Lawrence, Kansas. That's kind of where we've shifted to. It's because of the people that they've brought in at the top. And when you go look at Kansas's stats, it's unbelievable because there's nobody within the top 20 of like general statistics other than like LeBlanc was like the one, but second base was kind of a loaded position in the Big 12. Like the pitching wasn't incredible. It was almost like this revolving door of guys stepping up and being the dude every single weekend, but it was different guys every single weekend. And it's just incredible team baseball. What they accomplished this season is just unreal when you consider that, especially because, I mean, we all picked, I think everybody and their mother picked Brady Ballinger to be top of the Golden Spikes list. And not that he was bad this year, but he was a very slow starter. He put together a really solid season when you look at it, especially considering how slow he started. I mean, I think it took him almost a month to hit a home run this season. So considering that your superstar wasn't really a superstar for a good portion of the year and to still come out in 22-8 and win the Big 12, like you just got to put him on a pedestal. It's unreal that he has coached that team into what they are right now. And I think everyone is hoping that we get 2 Big 12 hosts and we get a Lawrence Regional and we get the Morgantown Regional because those places are going to be crazy. They get to show off those programs, show off those environments. So really hoping for that to happen and just truly good for them. I mean, it's awesome story of college baseball this year.
Yeah, and that slow start too. It's like it wasn't just Ballinger. The entire team was like off to a very slow start. Like they lost that series to Tech. They lost a series in Minnesota. I think they lost a midweek to TCU. They lost midweek to Sac State. Like they just could not get things figured out. And I was like, this team's not going to win the Big 12. We had like multiple podcasts where we were like, this team's not going to win the Big 12. And then Dan Fitzgerald just turns the entire thing around. Pitching staff finally started to show up. Dominic Bagley started to dominate, looked like a Friday night ace. But like you're looking, like you mentioned, you look at the stats, like the team posted an over 5 ERA. The best ERA on the team's a 3.97 from their closer. And then the team hit 286 as a team. Like that you just didn't expect what this team was going to do. And they just really turned things around. Jason, do you have any thoughts on the Jayhawks here?
I'm going to give my thoughts in a question. I like questions. I like stirring the pot. So let's rank in order of probabilities. No Big 12 teams host, 1 Big 12 team hosts, and 2 Big 12 team hosts. I want to go last because I want to put you guys in the fire. Will, you are up. Go.
Man, it's going to be so naive of me to say, but 0% chance for 0 hosts.
Really?
I think I do. I refuse to believe that neither one of West Virginia or Kansas will host. I think one of them will. I think it is more likely that one will host than 2. So I'll say 65% for one host, 35% for 2 hosts, 0% for 0 hosts. I don't think they'll do that again like they did last year. I really don't. I think last year was such a mistake on the committee part. So I'll go with 65 for one host, 35 for 2 hosts.
Jared.
So I have to give an actual percentage?
No, you can just you can just put them in order.
I think I don't love this West Virginia team. I'm going to be brutally honest. So I think Kansas is going to be the only host this year.
Okay.
I think West Virginia is going
I
to need to make a run.
see. This is where, like, first off, let me preface this with any Kansas Jayhawk fans or Mountaineer fans that, like, you're talking about two of the teams that I probably talk with the most. Like, I love both of these programs. Like, phenomenal coaches, great people. For me, it just comes down to what did the computers say? Because let's be perfectly blunt, like that's all the committee is looking at. I mean, it just is what it is. Kansas is a really unique one. I mean, they're basically like 20 across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I see is like, I don't see how they can't host. But what if, they get either Baylor or BYU or Tech and then they lose the first game? Like, I feel like they're probably going to be like 23rd, 24th in the RPI. That's a pretty big jump. And then the same thing for West Virginia. I mean, West Virginia, I think, is like 22nd in the RPI. I know the new system, the DSR, like loves them. I think they're 19th. They're 19th or they're either right on the edge of 20 or sort of right there. So, like, if you were just to do the blind RPI test, like neither one of them are in right now, which it's like it blows my mind because you're talking about 20, both teams being 20 plus win teams, and I think that's like part of me wants to say I agree with you. I don't see any way that both of them are not hosting, but if they both go, is it a single elimination or a double elimination? I want to say 0-2 and barbecue.
Double.
I think it's
Is it
double. Yeah.
Okay. I know SEC just went to single, but I didn't know if they did as well.
Yeah, Big 12 is double.
Because the SEC doesn't care. They're just
they hate the tournament. So I mean, I think they have to at least win one. I told one of the coaches, I was like, if you win one in hell, like, I think you guys will have a good shot. For those who don't know, they're doing the games in Paradise, Arizona this year.
Surprise.
So expected
surprise.
or surprise. Thank you. I don't know why I call it Paradise. So it's gonna be like 105 degrees out there. So yeah, I said win one in hell and you should be okay. Like I just I don't know. He responded boo, and I said, dude, if I could burn the RPI, I would. But yeah, I really like this Kansas team. I really like this West Virginia team. The computers don't. And I think they need to at least win one, both of them, to kind of solidify those hosting conversations.
Yeah. Speaking of Surprise, I used to live in Surprise, Arizona. Awful. There's nothing to do out there. It's about an hour and a half from the airport. Like the closest airport, I think, is like an hour. With traffic, it's like an hour and a half. So you have to fly into Sky Harbor. You got to drive all the way to Surprise, Arizona, which, granted, the only thing out there is an Air Force base. Like, that's it.
I got to look at the weather for this week.
It's like 93, so it's not in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good. Because what was it, Mother's Day? Did y'all see the tweet that went around where someone was like talking shit on Arizona State for not having any fans because it was like 105
like 104,
on Mother's Day? Yeah. And by the way, those guys are good guys.
There are so many stadiums you can choose from in Arizona. Baseball stadiums that are really good baseball stadiums, and you pick Surprise, which is like
they did it for a reason. It's the Rangers field. So the Big 12 has a contract with the Rangers that they couldn't get out of.
That makes sense.
I know they were not super thrilled. I was in Arlington last year. They were not thrilled with the move. Even Coach Hale at Arizona was not happy about it. Said,
you're talking about
I guess we'll be close.
It's a weird ass environment because it's like 10 a.m. You're in a dome, but it's like it always goes 74 degrees here, at Arlington Stadium. But I mean, you hear everything because there's maybe like 10 people, like 10 friends and family in the stands.
It is awesome there, though. Weird. I had a great time there last year, and will not be there this year.
We're not flying anybody out to Surprise.
No. Yeah.
Moving on to the Big Ten, UCLA set the record for most consecutive weeks ranked number 1 to open a season, or 1 week away from running the table through the entire regular season. Well, that's already over. But they're 46-5, 26-1 in Big Ten play. Go in as the number 1 seed, of course, in the Big Ten tournament. Will, I know you mentioned you don't think UCLA is coming out on top after this. It's going to be Georgia Tech. What are your thoughts on the Bruins? I think they stumbled a little bit with Washington this week, and they had an 8 spot put on them in the first inning, I think. No Logan Redmond.
I mean, when you have played as good as baseball as they have all season, you're gonna do that, right? Like, I think, everyone expects them to just wipe the floor with everybody because it's the Big Ten. UCLA is a legit national champion team this year, talent-wise, across the board, coaching-wise. John Savage is one of the best head coaches in the entire country year over year. I think you just look at what they are and you expect them to just beat the brakes off of everybody they play. It's not a reality that teams are going to go undefeated. I mean, it's crazy that they were 26-1 and they lost the second to last conference game of the entire season, or third to last, whatever it was. So I think you look at it from that perspective and you're like, holy cow, like what an impressive stretch. 5 lost games the entire season. Like, that's unreal. We looked at a team last year at the NAIA level, and LSU Shreveport went rattle off, I think, 49 straight in a national championship year. Like, that doesn't just happen with good teams, right? It's not college football. I know college football skews what people believe college baseball should be. And when teams lose to, the Sac States of the world, they get really confused and they're like, well, what is that about? How embarrassing. But that's not really how baseball works. So as much as I love this UCLA team, we've talked about it all year. Like, this team, I think, is destined for Omaha. I really do. I'd be surprised if they didn't make Omaha with how well they have looked against top competition. But like I just mentioned, you look at the metrics in a vacuum, and I think it's really hard to deny Georgia Tech. And Jason can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the computers like Georgia Tech more than they like UCLA. I believe I think DSR had even Georgia Tech at 1 last
RPI RPI likes UCLA more than Georgia Tech. DSR likes Georgia Tech and North Carolina more than UCLA. They have UCLA.
Which I would pump the brakes on Carolina personally. However, like, I think Georgia Tech is super valid if you were to put them over UCLA. I think if Georgia Tech is the 1 seed, I wouldn't have, honestly, 1-2 of those 2 teams I would have no qualms with. I really wouldn't. I think both are I think they're 1A, 1B, and it's just a matter of whatever computer system they go off of for who's the number 1 national seed. I don't think either's performance will bump them out of 1 or 2, but I think it could solidify 1 or 2 for either one, if that makes sense. So, like, if UCLA runs the Big Ten tournament and Georgia Tech doesn't, I think it's UCLA and then vice versa. But if they both do, like, I still kind of think it's Georgia Tech. Like, I think if you compare them evenly, I still think it's Georgia Tech.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jason, any thoughts here on the Bruins?
They're really good. I mean, as you said, they've been first for like 78 straight weeks, or I don't know, whatever number you want to come up with. I think for me, it'll be really hard to not put them first because, again, kind of similar to what I said with Southern Miss and hosting. It's like if you were to say do all of these things and you'll host.
True.
I think at some point you have to say, like, UCLA has passed every single test. They went out and they played TCU at home when TCU was like a top 10 team. Everyone was like, oh my God, this is going to be the non-con of the season. They went and played Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. And all 3 of those are going to be NCAA tournament teams. Probably 2 of them are going to be hosting. I mean, you never know with Tennessee. I mean, they're looking really good. They won't host, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I think part of me is like, how do you not make them number 1? Like, numbers be damned. Just say, like, hey, they've done all this, give them their cookie. So I do think not having Logan Redmond is a big deal.
Yeah.
Do we have any update on him? Like, is that just like TBD? Like, no idea?
I haven't seen anything. Well, I don't know if you saw anything.
I have not seen anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's hard because I think you go back to what I talked about with pitching. You either have an elite front end or you have elite depth. I don't know if they have either right now. That'd probably be my one concern for them. Obviously, Wyland Moss, like, it's looked really damn good. I mean, that first game versus Oregon where I think he threw a 7-inning complete shutout, or it wasn't I don't know if it was a shutout. I can't remember. I know they run ruled them. I think it was 11-1, something like that. Honestly, can't remember. So I mean, clearly he has the talent to be that like stud, but it's kind of one of the things like, can you do it like 3 straight weekends? Because that's kind of what you have to do. You have to do it in the regional, then the super, then in that first game in Omaha. Once you get to the finals, sometimes it's just a little bit of a crapshoot. I mean, go back to like when Ole Miss won it over Oklahoma. They didn't have either of their 2 starters. LSU, Skeens never even threw in the finals. So I mean, sometimes it's just kind of a crapshoot. But the question is like, can you win those 3 straight Friday night games, so to speak?
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting. We'll see what kind of happens there. Last topic I wanted to talk about before we switch over to our conference championship preview. Coastal Carolina stumbling here at the end of the season, loses a series to Louisiana. They still are 24th in the RPI, but this probably ultimately kills any chance that they have at hosting. Jason, what are your thoughts here on Coastal?
Sorry, we had a question about something. Coastal, I think, is a good team. I don't think they're a hosting team. I think I've struggled all year with Coastal. Almost similar to what you were talking about, Will, with Kansas. It's like if you take them in a vacuum and you look at every single player, every single kind of like metric within it, kind of like how did they get to where they were? And I think Coastal was kind of one of those teams like coming out of the non-con, everyone was like, okay, they're basically like, just above 500. I can't remember. They didn't do great in the non-con. No. And then at the beginning of the conference, it's like, holy shit, are they going to win every single Sunbelt game? And now they've struggled at the end. And they've done that without playing Southern Miss in the Sunbelt. So they had a quote-unquote easier Sunbelt schedule, and they still struggled a little bit to the end. So I think when we're talking about, these 4 to 5 teams like Kansas and West Virginia and Southern Cal and, maybe a few others that they're trying to talk about like weaseling their way into that top 16 hosts, even though they may not be top 16 like seed. I don't see a way how a 24th RPI Coastal is able to host.
Yeah. And then we've kind of talked about it throughout a lot of the podcasts too, Will, is that you watch kind of a lot of the games that were happening, and it's just like Coastal should have lost almost every single one of them, and then they wound up coming back and win. And so like you can make that a testament to like how scrappy this team is. They always came back and won it late in the games, but it felt like that Coastal should have lost way more series this year than they did.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like the writing was on the wall all season. I mean, you can even go back to the App State series. I think that was the first or second series of Sunbelt play, and they should have lost 2 of those games. Yep. And you look at what happened in the non-con. I wasn't high on the non-con schedule. They didn't look particularly good. Like they got really beat up by some of those teams. Like Illinois crushed them at home on like a Saturday in one of those round robin. I think it was like the Battle at the Beach tournament that they do early on in the season. And it was one of those. They're one of those teams that it's been weird because us as a whole have been really low on Coastal in terms of where we've ranked them. Other than last week after the loss at Old Dominion, it felt like that was the highest we had them in comparison to everybody else. And then after again this week, like to me, it's just been like the writing's been on the wall with them all season. I know that you don't have Fluky all year, so obviously that changes a big portion of what this team was supposed to be. But you look at the RPI, you look at the non-con schedule, you look at what they had to go through in Sunbelt play. And I was never 100% convinced that this was like a host team. I personally thought they had to run the Sunbelt tournament to really get in. Like you had to beat Southern Miss at some point to prove that you were a host team. And I mean, at this point, I think you can pretty much write them off as a host. I think they're a 2 seed.
Yeah. I don't think any of us have confidence really much more in Coastal Carolina, but what we do have confidence in is Vizual Edge. Confidence at the plate doesn't just come with taking more swings. It comes from clarity. Seeing the ball out of the hand, picking up spin earlier, trusting your swing decisions because you know what you saw. Vizual Edge is built around training that clarity. You start with the Edge test, which measures your visual processing, tracking, and depth perception. It shows you where you stand compared to other college players and then builds personalized plans around what you need most. The training sessions are short and focused, about 15 minutes a day. That's manageable even during the season. And you can do it from anywhere, dorm room, apartment, summer league housing, on any laptop or tablet. No facility, no appointments. This is the same category of vision training used by major leaguers like Aaron Judge, Nico Horner, Tommy Edman, Key Brian Hayes, because at the highest level, fractions of a second matter. Listeners can use the code CB Show to get first free month, free 3D glasses, free shipping, cancel anytime. Go to visualedge.com/sign up and use CB Show. That's visual with a Z. 15 minutes a day can change how you see the game. Train your eyes, train your brain, earn your edge. All right, we're going to move on to conference championship previews here. We're going to start with the big one. We'll start with the SEC tournament. We're going to go through kind of who we think is going to come out on top, some of the most dangerous teams here. Let's start with on the SEC. So Georgia enters as the number 1 seed. What are their chances on winning this tournament? Who wants to start here?
I'll go first here.
We'll start.
I feel like this
I'm texting people. Apologies.
I feel like this is going to irritate somebody when I say this, but like 0%. Like obviously not 0, but Jason said it 15 minutes ago. I mean, they almost treat this like a punt. Like I think Georgia is pretty aware that they're a national seed right now, so they're not going to roll somebody out for 8 innings in the quarterfinal game. You know, they get 2 byes. Really matter what they do. Obviously it's not 0, like that's being ridiculous, but again they also have to, more than likely they're facing Mississippi State or Ole Miss, both of which really good teams, both of which probably fighting for a national seed. I don't know if Ole Miss is quite, I don't know if they're high enough in the RPI to quite get there, but Mississippi State is 12th in the RPI, so they're like fringe of and Ole Miss is 15th, so that's a huge game for both of those. Like I think if you're Ole Miss or Mississippi State, you know you're kind of on the bubble of national host, and that win against Georgia means a lot more to them than it does for Georgia, who I think is a lock for a national seed. So I would say it's pretty low for Georgia. Like I feel like we see a lot of the 1 seeds in this tournament go 1 in barbecue, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of treated as a midweek. And you know, if they don't outslug Mississippi State that day, then you know, so be it. Or Ole Miss, whoever they play, yeah, they'll be fine. So I'm not anticipating Georgia goes on a run and wins this thing. There's a couple of other teams that I know we'll talk about really soon that I think are fighting for their life and have a good shot at it. Or maybe not a good shot, but fighting for their life, and would like to see that out of them. But I would say it's pretty low for Georgia.
Yeah. Jason, for you, who needs to make a run in this thing to get themselves solidified somewhere?
Oh, solidified? Honestly, give me Kentucky. I know this sounds kind of crazy.
Really?
Wait, what did you say? What?
That's what I was thinking too.
Oh, I thought you said Wills just said that. I was like, God, I need to pay attention better because I did not hear Kentucky. So I know they sold out hard for that 13th win Thursday night versus Arkansas. They threw Jokin out of the pen.
Yeah.
So I think they saw it and they were like, hey, our RPI is in the 20s. Get to 13, we're cake. But I mean, they were 13th in the SEC. Like and they're gonna go up against a Vandy team that they know, like they have 14 SEC wins, and generally that's like quote unquote good enough. It's not good enough for them this year. And Florida is the game after that. And Florida, I think, is sitting pretty. I think they're good. They've got 17, 18. I can't remember. No, they were 18. It was Texas, and then the one got canceled. So they're sitting pretty at 18 and 12. So I think Florida is going to be in this. It'll probably be Aiden King, but the question is like how much Aiden King? Is it going to be like 3 or 4 innings? So I think Kentucky needs to win 1. And then I think if I'm Mississippi State and Ole Miss, I'm both trying to win at least 1. So I think, like exactly like you said, Will, that game 5, that Mississippi State Ole Miss game is going to be a really big one. But I think
Missouri could win.
Yeah, no, like don't get me wrong, like Missouri could. Missouri took 2 or 3 from Vanderbilt. Like you never know. Missouri should have taken 2 or 3 from Arkansas. You never know. Always woulda, coulda, shoulda, but whatever. I think the team that like I would probably pick to win this is Texas. I think Texas has the best route. They'll play either Arkansas, Oklahoma, or South Carolina. Oklahoma and South Carolina are really struggling right now.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas doesn't really have a second pitcher. So Dietz is probably going to go in game 7. So even if they get Dietz, they're probably going to get Gackle or Gibbler, and they can do that because it's going to be, Volantis, and he's going to go 4 or 5, and Arkansas won't touch that. Neither would Oklahoma. So I feel good about them in that game 11. And then it's going to be Texas A&M, Auburn, Tennessee, or LSU. So the probability is it's either going to be like Auburn or Texas A&M. If it's Auburn, that's game 3 for them. If it's Texas A&M, that's game 2. But they also don't have elite back in like starting pitching. So like Mims is probably going to go that game 12. So is it going to be like Zadeo? Like who's going to be that like second game? But Texas does have pretty good. So I feel good about Texas. The only reason I don't feel as good about Georgia is frankly because of their path. They'll have to go against the Mississippi State and the Ole Miss. And if I were to pick a team right now, I would say Texas.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I was going to kind of dive that. Jason just dove into that a little bit too. But like, who do you think is the most dangerous team for you?
Man, most dangerous. I think Mississippi State is most dangerous. I do really like Tennessee's path, though. I mean, I think that's a team that has kind of solidified themselves as comfortably in. They're playing really good baseball right now, but you drew South Carolina in game 1. You drew Arkansas in game 2, which, again, Arkansas has been a really confusing team for me this season, so it wouldn't surprise me to see them get got. Maybe they hold off on Coons, and Coons throws in that game 7 against Arkansas. And then they've got Texas, which like at that point, like you're in the quarterfinals, you see what happens. But I do like Tennessee's path. I think they could make some noise. I think you look at Kentucky. It's so interesting that you said that Kentucky is like needs to win one. And I agree in the sense that Vanderbilt has one more SEC win than them, but Kentucky is 34th in the RPI. Like I don't think they're in danger of missing out. However, a loss to Vanderbilt would certainly hurt their odds there.
If they lose to Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt's what, like 70?
They're like 60. Yeah, they're like 65 or 8.
So I mean, it's only a Q2 loss, but I mean that would be losing what? I mean, they took 2 or 3 from Tennessee last weekend, so that would be what, 3-3. So 3-4 in their last 7 SEC. I mean, maybe. I mean, I like the Kentucky team. It's good to see Jelkin and Cleaver finally. Like, I mean, Cleaver was good, but I just think they need one. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they don't want one. Is this crazy to say? Like, they don't want to be a 32 seed. Like, nobody wants to be the 32. Nobody wants to be the 2 seed in like UCLA. I'd much rather be a 3 seed in like, I mean, it's not going to be a Georgia. So you basically like a 3 seed in North Carolina. That I feel like that's what it would be, something like that. Would you rather be a 3 seed in North Carolina or a 2 seed in UCLA? I feel like that's kind of where they're at.
No, I'm agreeing. I would say that the team I'm like kind of looking at as a potential winner is Florida, because Jason, you kind of talked their path. It seems like they have a pretty easy path, like to get to that championship game. And again, they have the pitching. It depends again how they decide to use them. But I really like the odds there. I mean, you would have to go against Alabama if you win game 6 against either Kentucky or Vanderbilt. And then you either go on to the winner of like Georgia, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. So kind of like their path. So are you taking your projected winner to be Tennessee and yours Texas, Jason? And then Will, your Tennessee?
Oh, Will, you're projecting Tennessee to win?
No, that's my you asked me dangerous team. That was like dangerous team. That's like down the list.
I actually think Tennessee has the hardest path in the entire thing. Because LSU, they have nothing to lose. So LSU is going to come out there, like basically Texas A&M did last year. What did Texas A&M go, like 2-1 or 3-1? I can't remember.
Yeah.
And then they play Auburn with fresh arms.
Tennessee's got South Carolina, right?
Tennessee? No, Oklahoma plays South Carolina, right?
No, Oklahoma has LSU.
Oh,
Tennessee has South Carolina.
Tennessee would go to Arkansas, Texas.
Tennessee would go to Arkansas.
My bad.
In game 7.
The one I'm looking at is incorrectly done, so apologies.
I would say my projected.
Then I have to rethink my whole thought process. Give me a second.
I'm taking State as my projected winner. Tennessee's like my dark horse team. I think they've got a good path, but again, you got to win 5 games at that point. But give me Mississippi State. I think they have a lot to play for, which helps. I'm obviously you got to play Georgia in there, and you're going to have a rivalry game against Ole Miss. But I like Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I'm so frustrated now that I was looking at a bad schedule because basically all of the logic that I've been saying for the past 15 minutes is now completely just dog shit.
But were you? Because you were right on Texas.
Well,
you mentioned Arkansas playing Texas, so I don't know
I'm
what you
trying
were
to look
looking
at the
for that
bracket
first round.
now. Yeah, see, I had Tennessee and Oklahoma flipped. Okay, I still like Texas.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's still pretty strong.
Yeah, I still like it. But when you said Tennessee, I was like, oh damn, like they gotta go through LSU, who has nothing to lose, Auburn and Texas A&M. I was like, that's gotta be rough. But yeah, no, I do like Tennessee. Yeah. Now that I'm like, I mean, it'll be Blanco, I guess, game 3. Who was the Rutgers transfer?
Mack has been he's been out. He's been out for like 2 weeks now. I don't know if he's
yeah.
long term.
I was talking to their coaches yesterday. I couldn't remember, but yeah. I mean Tennessee, I could see that. But I mean if they win 2, something tells me they're just not going to care about the third game. Does that make any sense? Yeah. They're just going to be like, all right, throw whoever out there. So yeah, no, it's unfortunate that the seeding was wrong, but yeah, I actually kind of like LSU now that I'm looking at it. Like, let me hear me out. And I know this is one of
the questions I had. Can LSU make a run?
So Oklahoma does not have any starting pitching anywhere.
True.
So you have to feel good about that first game. It's not that Oklahoma can't win. Oklahoma has a ton of talent, and I mean, is it LaChance, the catcher, who had 3 bombs on Saturday? So I mean, against Tennessee, actually. So I mean, they clearly a very good team. But I think if in a tournament scenario, if you don't have a guy who can get you 3 or 4 innings without putting up 4 or 5 runs, which Oklahoma hasn't been able to do in a long time, I like LSU in that. And then it's just going to be what LSU shows up versus Auburn. And the bats have never really been the question. It's just kind of been the pitching. The pitching's been rough, especially starting pitching. So I think they can go through the gauntlet of Oklahoma, Auburn, Texas A&M, probably Texas, and then I'm going to say Florida or Georgia would be my guess. No, I don't think they could. But do I think they could make some noise? Yeah, especially if it's game 15 and it's Georgia, who's already thrown Aoki and Scott and all of these guys, and then they're just like, whatever, we don't care, we're a top 4 seed, and LSU's like, holy shit, we need this one. I could actually see that happening.
Yeah, I'd be surprised, but I mean, hey, you just need a guy to step up, show up. You never know what's going to happen in the tourney.
Yeah.
Moving on to the ACC, we have Georgia Tech coming in as the number 1. I believe North Carolina's 2 in this one. Let me look here.
I'm going to pull up the actual website this time. I was using a third party, and that third party was not good.
Florida State 3 and Boston College 4. So who has the best chance to take down Georgia Tech in this one, Will?
I am pulling up the bracket as we speak.
Well, I'll start. I'll start since you're waiting.
Go for it.
North Carolina feels like it's an easy pick on this one.
That pitching staff, and they've already done it.
Well, it's just the route. I think Wake Forest is super underrated. So I think that Wake potentially, especially Louisville Pitt, will be a good game. 1 million runs will be scored in that one. And then winner will go on and play Wake, and Wake's a lot better than their record indicates. We love Wake. All the computers do. And so that Wake Florida State's going to be a really good game. And so I think you've got 3 really good games back to back at the bottom. I mean, I'm not trying to hate on Notre Dame or Clemson, but I think both of them realize their seasons are kind of kaput. And so I think the winner is going to play Virginia Tech, and then the thought process is which Virginia Tech are you going to get? And even through all of that, that winner is going to play a North Carolina who's going to have rested arms. So you're going to have North Carolina pretty much already kind of in the quarterfinals would be my assumption, and they don't face Georgia Tech until the end. So it kind of feels like North Carolina. If there was a team that's not Georgia Tech, it would probably be my pick.
Yeah, I feel like we'd all be on board with North Carolina here. It's just kind of the easy choice. Like you could kind of say Florida State, but the offense has kind of been hit or miss here for them. The pitching staff's been good, but like North Carolina's pitching staff is just absolutely incredible.
And this is a good question. Do y'all think Wake
yeah.
is fighting the host? We have them, I think, 8th. It's kind of crazy. I sometimes I look at it and I go, okay, this is too high, but I just trust it.
I think they're right there. I mean, I think the team that is like on the out, it's hard to say, right? Because I think it depends on what they do with the Big 12. Like you mentioned, I mean, West Virginia and Kansas are both behind them in the RPI. So it's like, if the Big 12 gets double snubbed again, same with like Nebraska, like where does Nebraska stand in this whole thing? Where does Oregon State stand in this whole thing? I think those are a couple of teams that are all in the same conversation as Wake. I think they're probably going to host. I think you win one in the tournament. Honestly, if they beat Florida State in the tournament, if they get past Florida State in the tournament, I think they're kind of a lock to host.
Yeah.
You think they're a lock? Oh, if they get past North Carolina?
If they get no. If they get past Florida State, so they're in that bottom part of the bracket.
They'll win
so
two. Is it a double? Honestly, I'm just gonna ask. Every single tournament's so wacky. Is it a single or a double?
I feel like ACC is single, right?
I feel like this is single because Cal went crazy. And then they beat North Carolina last year, right? If I remember,
they just started knocking people out left and right. So I guess would you all say that Wake Forest is the most dangerous team in this then because they have something to kind of fight for? They want to like solidify their chance as a host.
Miami would be my next one.
Good call.
Because I think the winner of Stanford Cal, like they should be able to beat. Siskar looked really, really good. I don't know if he's going to go game 1, but he looked really, really good. And then they have Boston College, and I think Boston College has shown like they have some holes. Clearly, like bird ball is a lot of fun, but I do think Miami has some really good arms, and then it's going to be a really fun like matchup between probably either Georgia Tech. I think NC State could maybe have some fun, depending upon which Virginia shows up. But yeah, I think Miami would be another team to look out for.
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess in terms of who needs a run, like who out of the ACC most needs a run, like to me, I know Virginia's in already, but I feel like Virginia needs to showcase something. They've been looking awful down the stretch, and I'm like, I just need to see them prove to me that they're still a good team.
I really like that take. I had a little back and forth with Monty on Twitter the other day because I was like, I know the RPI like says good team, but sub 500 in conference play. Like to me, that's a big red flag. And quite frankly, like they haven't really impressed me in ACC play, less the North Carolina series where they really, really impressed me. And I was like, damn, this is a top 10 team. Outside of that, I've just kind of been like not crazy impressed with Virginia. I think if there's a team that really like, if you want to say really needs to make a run, it's Virginia Tech. Like I think if Virginia Tech makes a big run, they could sneak in, but you'd have to get through North Carolina, which I don't foresee happening.
Yeah.
But that's a team that like I think technically needs a big run. I think Pitt could be interesting in this thing just because they
for sure
swing it so well. Honestly, I would just say that lower part of the bracket, right? I think it's Wake Forest. I think it's Louisville. I think it's Pitt. Like Louisville was in everybody's Omaha 8 to start the year. Like we can't just forget that. We can't forget the talent they have. The team was in Omaha last year. They had a preseason roster that everybody loved enough to say, hey, like this is a potential Omaha team. And then you have Pitt who just hits the cover off the baseball. And then you've got Wake Forest who, outside of the Q1 record, I think is knocking on the door of hosting. I think that to me is like the one thing. Are you going to give a 6-14 Q1 record over a West Virginia as a host? Like, I don't think so, but I think this team is crazy talented. And I agree with you, Jason, much better than their record leads on. So I think there's a couple of interesting teams in this. I'm circling that bottom section of the bracket though, in terms of those teams.
Jason, what about you? Who do you think has to make a run in this thing?
I feel like this one's easy. It's NC State. I mean, you're talking about a team that's like 40th. Like they are squarely on the bubble, and they're playing Duke, and then they have Virginia. I think if you lose to either of those, I think you're just trying to give the NCAA a reason to not let you in.
Can I say something crazy off of that?
Say it.
Clemson? Clemson's one spot behind NC State in the RPI with the same record in Q1. Clemson goes on a Cal run from last year, and they're 35th in the RPI when this thing is all said and done. Like, what do you do with them? I mean, it's a disgusting ACC. It's a disgusting
There's so many
ACC
weird
record.
ass RPI things this year. Like, everyone is talking about how there's no way Southern Cal hosts, and a part of me is like, how in the world do you let a team that's 7th in the RPI in Power 5 not host? Like the amount of, I don't even want to know how many years back you'd have to go to get some sort of like, this team won this many games in their conference, they were this high in the RPI, and they were and they didn't host.
Yeah.
And then you've got like exactly what we're talking about. Like, you have Vanderbilt, who's 14 conference wins, and they're like 80th in the RPI. And now you've got Clemson, who's just into double digits in ACC wins, and they're on the bubble of RPI. Like, this is one of those years where I think there's, like, when they do the post selection kind of roundtable with the committee, like, whoever's drawn straws for that discussion is gonna, like, not enjoy that back and forth, because I think there's going to be a number of schools who are going to point to 2 to 3 metrics and say, how in the world did they get in and we didn't? Because to your point, like, there are a lot of things to really like about this Clemson team. There are also a lot of things to not like about them. But you can say that pretty much about any team that's above 30, pretty much above 20. You can say that about any team that's above 20. So I don't know. It should be a really fun series. I will say one thing that kind of sucks for NC State is they have 2 9 a.m. games in a row if they win the first one. And that, yeah. So
that's not fun.
And think about it like Stanford and Cal. And so that's one, because this is in Charlotte, if I remember correctly. I love the stadium. Both of those teams are driving like cross country, or no, they're flying cross country, and then they're going to be playing each other. So very, very unique setup, but should be a good one.
Yeah. So who's your projected winners here? Will, who do you got?
Give me Wake Forest. I think they've got a lot to play. I think they've got a lot to play for, and I mean, the tough thing is, like, they're likely going to have to go through North Carolina and Georgia Tech to do it, because they're not going to run into each other. So it's a brutal path in terms of the end part of the bracket. And Florida State, yeah, they got a really tough draw, but I think they have the most to gain out of winning this thing. So give me the Deeks.
Love it, Jason. Who you got?
Georgia Tech. They hit 1 million. Like, they'll score 14 a game. Like, the thing about this tournament is, because it's single elimination and because it's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like, if you're an NC State and you are on game 3 on day 3, and you're going up against a team that's on game 1 on day 1, that's just so hard. And then they score 1 million runs a game. I think this is set up for a team like a Georgia Tech to go bananas, because that left field wall, if I remember correctly, it's pretty short. It's a big wall, but it's a short porch on left. So it's a hitter's park. It's deep in center, but it's short on left.
Yeah, I'm going Georgia Tech too. I just feel like it's just the easy one to go with here. I'd say North Carolina is probably the second one that I think has a shot. But like you said, who's throwing in the championship game? And like, are you saving like DeCaro or Lynch or whatever? Like, you're probably going to roll out your normal rotation, keep them in kind of a normal kind of scheme here, and they're going to pitch limited innings. And so like, you got bats. Like, you got bats, you're going to win a game, and that's how I got to go with the Yellow Jackets.
If it's North Carolina, Georgia Tech in the finals, they may roll out a student manager, both of them on the mound, because I don't think either will care. I really don't.
Some freshmen going to lose their red shirt in the tournament.
Oh yeah, it's going to be like, hey, who's going in the portal here? In a few days, like, raise your hand. I'm like, okay, like, why don't you go out there and throw some innings?
Yeah. I love it. Moving on to the Big 12. So Kansas earned the number 1 seed. You got buys for Kansas, West Virginia, ASU, UCF, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati. This is going to be an interesting tournament. We said it's in Surprise Stadium in Arizona. It is also a single elimination format this year. looking at the
God.
Big 12 website. So
I got to look at this one now.
I don't even know where to start with this. Like, who do you think needs a championship run the most in the Big 12? I have mine. I already know.
You can start because I think we have the same one. But I'll change
Arizona State.
Yeah.
I think Arizona State's in, but I think they also, just given their RPI being at 48, they need to make kind of a statement here. I mean, win over Cincinnati would really help you there, and then whoever they play in like a Friday night game. I just think Arizona State is not on the bubble. I think they deserve to be in the field of 64, but if a committee's looking at their RPI, they're going to be like, yeah, maybe we leave ASU out here. They didn't win the conference, so I'm a homer.
You're a homer. Homer.
Oh no, that's a good take. That would be disgusting of them to leave out Arizona State. I will die on that.
I think they're like 50th in the RPI.
Yeah, 48 right now.
12 in the conference. They're the third best team in the conference. That'd be disgusting behavior, especially because Cincinnati's probably in, especially because TCU's probably in. Like
they're 19 and 11 in Big 12.
19, yeah, not 18 and 12, 19 and 11. Yeah, that would be disgusting to leave them out. I don't care what anybody says. I'll follow it up because I do agree with you, ASU. I think it's the same argument as Kentucky in a sense. Like I think Kentucky's in, but it would be really nice to get that next. Like it'd be nice for them to win that game. Same thing with Arizona State.
Cincinnati team. That's a great win.
Yeah. 17 and 13 Cincinnati. I think that's a really good win. I think that solidifies you in. I think they're in anyways, but other people may not feel the same. I think it'd be disgusting behavior to leave them out. But I'm going to go with frog ball here. I think TCU is also one of those teams like on the bubble. RPI says they're on the bubble, 17 and 13 in the conference. Struggled early on. Like a lot of guys are hurt right now. Like Chase Brunson's been in and out of the lineup the last week or so. They need to get back healthy in terms of the lineup. Franco's been swinging a lot better though, which is good to see. I think that they have got to win at least one. You'd like to see them beat West Virginia there in that second game. So they'll face either Kansas State or Utah, which could get pretty interesting if they face Kansas State. Could be a billion runs scored in that game. And then they've got West Virginia, who will be throwing one of Yell or Cole. I don't know in what capacity, but they'll see one of them. West Virginia is, I believe, 22-4 when those two pitchers appear. So the odds are not in their favor there. But if you're TCU, it's almost – I don't want to say they're playing for their season, but it almost feels like they kind of are, like with how much they struggled early on outside of that first tournament where they looked like world beaters and everybody was clicking. So I think TCU has the most to gain in this tournament. So I'm going to go with TCU.
I like it. Jason, what about you?
I'm going to go UCF. UCF.
I like that too.
So I think this is a team that there are times throughout the season that we've said like, this team can be really – I mean, they were a top 25 team, like 4 weeks ago, something like that. And I think now I don't think they're on the bubble, but I think they're one of those teams that they lose, someone is going to try to convince you that they shouldn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I think someone's going to be like, oh, they have these losses or that. I think they need a win to kind of just shut those people up. I think that would probably be the best way for me to put it. And I think that's probably going to be the game of the tournament. Is that Oklahoma State UCF game? I don't think Kansas may need one, so I think they're probably gonna. I think both Kansas and West Virginia are just gonna sell out for their game one, and if they both win that game one, then again they're just gonna send out the student managers on the mound for the remainder. And I think Arizona State is also gonna want to do, as we just talked about, a little bit of damage. But I just feel like that Oklahoma State UCF game, I think Oklahoma State, everyone was kind of talking about like, well, maybe could they host a regional? And I think they're clearly in, but I think also, again, everyone is doing everything they can to get away from that 32 spot. Like everything they can. They don't want to go to Georgia Tech. They don't want to go to UCLA. That's the biggest difference between like these previous years is everyone was just like, okay, well, like where am I close to? And if I'm close to it, that's probably where I'm going to end up to. Like UCF, they were like shit, like we're probably going to Florida State. Like that was probably like mentally what they were already telling themselves. And so now it's kind of like, okay, well, it's not that. Like I don't want to go to UCLA. I mean, I'm probably not going to go to Florida State because I don't see myself like being in that bucket. Like am I going to be going to like a Georgia Tech? Am I going to be going to North Carolina? So I think it's just trying to get further and further away from those kind of juggernauts. So I think it's a really important game, that UCF Oklahoma State game.
Yeah, no, I dig that. But about most dangerous team, who do you think is going to be the most dangerous team in this tournament?
I'll start. I think it's Oklahoma State. Now I think UCF needs a win, but I think Oklahoma State's kind of rounding into good form here. And I think they'll have a pretty decent path. If they get past UCF, they play the winner of the Kansas game. And again, if Kansas wins that, I think they're throwing out a student manager. And once you get past that, then it's just kind of like a crapshoot of who you're actually going to play. So if they're able to, win a few games, again, they'll probably be in that like 19 to 22 range in the RPI, something like that. And then they'll be going to a much more like maybe like a Southern Miss. And no one wants to go to nobody wants to go there. But again, like that's a lot better than maybe going like, I don't know, to again a UCLA. Like the whole thought process is, how do I get further and further away from those juggernauts?
Yeah, no, I like that pick. I was going to go with Cincinnati here. And we kind of talked about offenses and like the way Georgia Tech has like a high octane offense, and that's the reason why they could win the ACC. I really like Cincinnati's offense in this. I think the pitching staff has kind of been the big concern. But if you have other teams who aren't throwing, like you said, if they're throwing student managers, because student managers are apparently getting a lot of love in these tournaments and are going to be out there throwing out some BP. I just feel like Cincinnati's a team that can really bang, especially if Quentin Coates gets going again. You got Jack Tilly, who's been phenomenal for them. Enzo's been fantastic as a freshman this year. So it's just like this team can absolutely mash with the best of them. And so, yeah, the pitching staff's going to be a concern, but like if you're going to go with Nate Taylor and you still had a team ERA under 5, the pitching staff hasn't been phenomenal, but that hasn't been awful at the same time. So like I feel like Cincinnati, just looking at the path that they have, could easily make a run here, especially with Arizona State not having Cole Carlin. Like that's going to be a huge blow to them.
That's exactly what I was going to say, was Cincinnati, and the biggest reason without Cole Carlin. And honestly, like in terms of ASU's postseason thing, like that another team that we've kind of lumped into this bucket of should be in, but may try to, they may try to convince you that they don't deserve to be in without Cole Carlin. Like that could be the straw right there. Jason, I'm going to put you on the spot here because because I don't have a different answer from either of you. Those were kind of my two teams were Cincinnati and UCF. But so we talked about it earlier with you posed the question for 0 Big 12 hosts, 1 Big 12 host, 2 Big 12 hosts. So my question to you is the reason you're saying Kansas and West Virginia sell out for 1, do you believe they're both hosts with 1 win?
Yes,
and that's it.
I do.
Okay.
I think they're both hosts if they get 1.
What I was going to pose to you is why would they quote unquote punt that second game if we're kind of in this situation where we think that one of them may not host? Like if it's that imperative that they win 2 and are playing each other in the championship game, why would they punt that second game was going to be my question to you. But if you think that they're both hosting with 1 win, then I'll scrap that.
So this is the way I put it. West Virginia has effectively 2 starters. Like Montesa has been pretty good, but he's just like I mean, we all saw Corn threw 6. I was talking with other coaches because they threw Corn on Thursday, and I was like, "What are you guys doing? That guy's been a lead out of the bullpen." He's like, "Oh, we just didn't want to throw off the our weekend guys." And I was like, "Well, what if Corn goes out there and like stands on his head and like he's like, oh, don't worry." And of course, then he goes out and stands on his head. So I don't know. I feel like if there's anyone who could maybe make a longer run, it would be West Virginia just because of their starting pitching. Like they can get 6 from 3 guys. I mean, they could get 6 from 4 guys because Montesa could get them 6. But do I think they need it? I don't. Again, like this is the first year that the committee is using DSR and they love West Virginia, like love them. And I mean, there's a lot to like about West Virginia. But I just think it would be a super hard sell from the committee to have a 40-win Kansas team with 22 Big 12 wins made it to the quarterfinal and not host. I think it'd be a super hard sell to have like a 21 win West Virginia team in the Big 12 get to the
who beat
quarterfinals,
Kansas.
who beat Kansas, swept that ass at home, and I think I don't know. Again, that'd be one of those things you would almost want like a fan interaction, like a fan poll. You know how there's some of those like debates where people walk up to the microphone and they just like start to yell at the comment. I feel like I would love that. Like some sort of like system where like, and now the West Virginia representative has a question and they'd be like, how the hell were you? I don't see how you could let them not host. So for me,
It's fair.
if each of them get one, I think they're both in. But I do feel like if one of them doesn't, again, there's going to be a reason for someone to point to something. You want to remove like the things to point to. And if they lose a game and Kansas is 25th in the RPI, the committee's going to point at that. I can tell you right now.
Yeah, I agree. So who's your projected winner of this? Jason, you want to go first?
This is the one I think I know the least about. Like, it's not that I know the least about the teams. Like, I have no goddamn idea on this one, to be perfectly blunt. If I were to pick,
no one's winning.
If I were gun to my head picking, I'm gonna go Oklahoma State.
Okay.
That's my pick.
What about you, Will?
Give me Cincinnati.
That's my pick too.
Yeah, I think they go on a big run. I like that.
I mean, I like how they would have to play West Virginia or Kansas in game 2. Like, I feel terrible about Tech and BYU and Kansas State and Utah and TCU and Baylor because they would all have to play Kansas and West Virginia game 1 when they're selling out for that win.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think mentally I'm scrapping all 6 of those teams. And then mentally I'm scrapping Kansas and West Virginia because I think if they even get to the championship like that, they just won't care. I mean, like, you want to win a championship. Like, don't get me wrong. If you get there, you're like, screw this. Like, we have a whatever in 64 chance of winning the whole thing. Like, let's win a Big 12 tournament championship. But I do think they're also having like ideas of bigger things. Whereas like an Oklahoma State or a Cincinnati or UCF are thinking we need to set ourselves up for success because we won't be hosting. We need to put ourselves in a better situation as a 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah, no, I agree. Moving on to the last conference, we're going to the Big Ten. Your 1 seed is UCLA. Your 2 seeds, Nebraska. Your 3 seeds, Oregon, and your 4 seeds, USC. This is an interesting one. I think there's a lot to be said that the top, it's very top heavy in those first 4, and I don't know if there's a lot to play for here from the teams that are trying to make a run here in the Big Ten tournament. But I guess like out of all these teams, like who do you think needs to make a run in this tournament?
Michigan, I would say.
That's like the only one.
Personally, I think Ohio State like effectively ended their season this weekend.
Yeah. Oh, we lose Will. We might have lost Will.
Did we lose Will? Okay,
no, I'm back.
He's back. He's back.
I think it's Michigan. Oh my gosh, I'm out again. No, I'm back.
We got frozen smiling, Will.
I'm trying.
Jason, do you want to go with yours here?
I'm gonna go. So I think the team that needs to win is Oregon, because I think they're like 20th or so. Again, I'm thinking about people who are on the edge.
Yeah.
Oregon is on the edge of hosting. I think Nebraska is hosting. They're like 9th RPI. UCLA, of course. USC, I mean, I guess you could make the argument that they only have 1 Q1 win. But again, I just think that's a really dumb argument because like the whole quadrant thing is associated with their RPI. So if you're telling me you have a top 10 RPI, but like the variables that make up the formula of your RPI aren't good enough, I'd say what? That doesn't make any sense. So I think you have at least 3 Big Ten teams hosting, and I think Oregon is going to do their best to try to make it 4. So I don't know. Maybe that's a bad take on USC, but I just don't see how USC isn't hosting. They are 8th in the RPI. 8th. We had this talk on Monday. Well, remember when we talked about it? We were like, "Oh, the team that comes out of this like will be the one." And I was like, "But what if USC goes 1 and 2?" I said their RPI will go up. They went 1 and 2, and their RPI went up.
So I 1 and 10 in quad 1 games.
Yeah.
So crazy.
So I at the end of the day, again, it's the same thing we talked about with Southern Miss. It's the same thing we talked about with UCLA. If you make this formula, if you set all these parameters, and then you give it to the teams and you say, go do X, and then they go and do X, and then you go like, well, looking at these other variables, they just didn't stack up. I'm like, then don't like make those make those more important. Like maybe you have a formula. You're the one who created the formula. Maybe adjust the formula to the things you say are quote unquote more important. So I long-winded story. I think Oregon needs to win a few.
Yeah, they're 16th on the RPI. So you said they're right on that edge.
I'm gonna push back on that, Jason. I think if you I think if you looked at USC schedule and you said here's all the things you need to do, I would say beat Oregon in a series would be on that list of things to do.
For sure.
Personally, I do. I don't think they've done everything they needed to do. However, I believe that a top 10 RPI absolutely should host. So I'm not saying they shouldn't host. I think they have the most to gain out of this tournament. Like if they somehow talk about a team that might punt like Redmond out, like UCLA might win and or lose that. Let's just say UCLA wins that first game. Like USC kind of has a lot to play for in that game.
Yeah.
And based on who USC might play in game 1, they may pitch off and save Edwards for UCLA, and then maybe they beat UCLA there. And then all of a sudden, then it's like, I think optically they need a quote unquote like big win. Like I think they need the win. And it would be a really good time to go get one from UCLA in the conference tournament. So I think it's USC that has like the most to gain / needs the run. But I think it's more optically than like what is on the computer, because the computer says they should host. I think like based on what you've seen in years past, they should host based on those numbers. But I think optically 1 in 10 in Q1 is going to, again, you want to give the committee things to not point at. They're going to point at that. I think it'd be silly to think they're not going to point at that.
I'm not saying they wouldn't. And again, like that's because that's what people are pointing at. But I love analogies, so I'm going to keep doing it. If I'm on the, the Great Bake Show or whatever, one of the things they want to call it, and at the end of my 2 hours of baking this cake, if I bring you a cake and you're like, holy shit, this is 9th, and like, you're like, oh, this is awesome, I don't think you should then look back and be like, well, did you see them drop the egg at the beginning or like all this? No, it's just like I made a good cake. Like you told me if I do this, like so like the formula told me that I did a good job. So why would you give a shit about like all of the steps that went between it?
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I feel like we're nitpicking here, but at the end of the day, it's like it's the formula they created. So if you're then gonna go and like retroactively say like, well, maybe we should have like bumped these things a little higher. It's like, well, no shit, Sherlock. Do that, in the off season. But yeah.
My original point was I think Michigan needs to go on a big run. Like I think Ohio State ended their season this weekend, but if there's a team that like is fighting for their life, it's Michigan. So I would say Michigan is that team. I guess you could lump Purdue in that conversation just because of what they did in conference record wise, but I think they're too far out to kind of save. So I would say Michigan is like the one team that you're looking at as like they stand if they make a huge run. I think Purdue is just Iowa from last year. So I think either one of those two, if either one of those two goes on this massive, massive run, maybe I think Purdue's a little bit too far out, but I'd say Michigan.
And
I was talking to a Big Ten team. Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead, Jason.
I was talking to a Big Ten coach today, and I basically said, do you think you see another Nebraska of last year? And he said no. He said there are 3 to 4 teams that like have a lot to fight for in this one. So
Yeah,
they
I would agree.
They don't think you see like a Ohio State run it like Nebraska did. So I think this is actually going to be one of the better like quality tournaments. I think they're all going to be good, but in terms of like effort and like wanting to like maybe UCLA is the only team that like if they win that first one and then again there's like who gives a shit, we're going to be 1 or 2. But Nebraska is going to be trying to fight for one of those like better seeds. They don't want to be a 12. Again, you want to get as far away from UCLA, Georgia Tech as you can. So you don't want to be a 14 through 16. You want to be closer to like a 12 to 8, and that's kind of where Nebraska is. Oregon and USC, like they're both right on the edge of that 14 to 16. And so again, like if they can try to get into that like that 13 to where maybe they're playing like a you don't want to play Georgia, but I mean, I guess at that point you're just like, hey, I just want to host.
Yeah, and I kind of to your point, Jason. Like the team's having a lot more to play for. Isn't the format new too? Like it's double elimination to start, and then
I don't understand this bracket whatsoever. I was gonna make that comment, and I was like, maybe this could make me look like an idiot. This bracket makes no goddamn sense to me.
5 through 12. So 5 through 12 is double elimination, and then the qualifier it has qualifier 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then if you make it out of 5 through 12 double elimination, you go to single elimination against the top 4 seeds.
But I'm looking at the bracket, and like qualifier 2 is adjacent to qualifier 4. Like, are you saying the same thing?
Yeah, qualifier 2 is who would be the winner, and that qualifier 2 would go play Oregon.
Like I don't know. I just make it single elimination, and because I mean this thing May 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd.
It's a 6-day tournament.
Yeah.
Last year, the pool play tournament was horrible last year. At least they're away from that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And it's in Omaha, and so like it's an ocean out there. Yeah. So maybe USC because no one's gonna hit any home runs. So maybe it's a like more advantageous for USC.
Yeah. So who's your projected winner here? Who wants to take this one first?
Will go.
Give me USC. Like I think optically they're playing for a lot. You get kind of the revenge rivalry game against UCLA in game 2, assuming that they get to that point. And then you've got Nebraska and Oregon, who I also think are playing for a lot, but will be really fun games. So give me the Trojans. I think that could be a fun storyline there.
Jason.
Give me Oregon.
That's what I was going to go with.
So I like your USC pick, but the only reason I don't love it is because they have to win 3 games. If they had to win 2, no, they have to win 4 games. Apologies. No. Yeah, 3. They have to win 3 games. So Mason and Govell, Edwards and Govell. Jesus. Edwards and Govell will go like that game 11 or game 15, however many games there are. So many games in this one. I think if the question is who would go that last game. And they just don't really have the pitching depth. They have elite top end pitching. But if they had a third starter, I'd feel better about it. And I don't know. I really like Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I really like Oregon's lineup. I think the pitching staff's much better than people talk about. I think the Ducks have the best chance. And they held their own really well against USC too. So
yeah. Them or Nebraska. I could say honestly, I think I like the bottom 2 more than the top 2. I think again UCLA, I just don't think they'll care. Like I mean, they have nothing to. They're going to be a 1 through 3 seed. Like even if it's North Carolina, Georgia Tech, and maybe like Georgia wins the SEC. I don't know. I'm just throwing out random permutations. They're going to be a top 3 seed. I think USC again. It's just depth of pitching. So I would say either Nebraska or Oregon. I would say those 2 first.
Love it. Well, that kind of wraps it up for the conference championship previews. Anybody have any final thoughts here before we wrap things up?
Sunbelt. What are y'all thinking about for the Sunbelt? Any thoughts?
Southern Miss.
I think that's going to be one of the more unique conference tournaments, because I think Southern Miss is another one of those RPI darlings. But what if they lose early? What if Coastal goes on a run? Are there only going to be 2 teams from the Sunbelt? I don't know.
I know we've kind of are out on Texas State, but they seem like they have
No,
an easy.
I love their draw. I was just
That's a
talking to
nice
some folks
draw
over there today. I love that draw. I think it's a really good matchup against App State. If you put a gun to my head, told me to pick what side of the bracket you want to be on, I want to be on Coastal side of the bracket. So I think they got a really good draw. I believe they jumped Louisiana in the seeding on a spot in there. So they ended up getting a really good draw. I love Texas State in this thing. Give me the Cats. That offense is going to cook during this thing. I think they got a really good draw. I think if they get to the championship game versus Southern Miss, I think Southern Miss is pretty much locked in as a host, and Texas State might have a little bit more to play for, as I think they're fighting for a spot in a regional. So I love the Cats in that thing.
Wait, it's only this bracket's confusing. Was it top?
All of the tournaments make no goddamn sense. Just make it single elimination, and
only the top 5 make it. Is that what it is?
Yes, I thought it was 6 because we were having the discussion 2 months ago. Does Southern Miss even make the tournament? Because they were
okay, there's a first round, and it's okay, everybody makes it. By the way,
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Post one, they have 2 different brackets in here.
It's the same thing as the Big Ten one. The Big Ten one makes no god both just. I don't know.
Okay, so the top 10 teams make it.
Yeah. Someone said previously. I'm trying to find the comment. Scroll up a little bit. It's from Titan.
By single elimination.
854. He said, "Is Southern Miss wins the Sun Belt? They should be." I agree. They should be a national seed. Because at that point they're going to be top 10 in the RPI. If they were number 1 in the RPI in the non-con, they would win their conference tournament. Again, it's just check. And I think you just have to start rewarding people winning games. At some point, you just have to be did they win? And I think you have to answer yes.
Yeah.
And more to your question, I think Mercer's good regardless. I think they're in the 20s now in the RPI, if I remember correctly. They're 27. Someone correct me on that. But you would much rather want to play Georgia Tech, in my opinion, than Georgia. That just I know all the Tech fans are now going to be just as mad at me as they are at y'all, but I just think Tech has more depth pitching wise.
Yeah,
it's just me opinion.
Love it.
But they just played Georgia Tech, so never mind. You're not going to play them. That's one thing that the committee never does. They never duplicate teams. So
yeah,
unfortunately, you'd probably be Athens bound. Womp womp.
Any other final thoughts here before we wrap up? Will, anything on your end?
Got nothing. Made it.
We made it to the end of the season. We got one more top 25 update that Will has to survive next week. Then it's done with the top 25. But yeah, I don't know if we have another episode coming this week. We might not do anything until wrap of conference championships because it's going to be a long week. But maybe he'll have something live on Saturday just because a lot of people will be doing their championship game. But stay tuned. There'll be more coming from the college baseball show. But until next time, we'll see you.